The number one thing that you want to try to avoid when you're dealing with someone who you believe has narcissistic tendencies or is a full-blown narcissist, you want to avoid trying to prove your point. We have to understand that a narcissist is generally somebody who does not listen. They don't care what you think. They don't care what you feel. Their entire agenda is to get people to believe what they think and to get them to take care of them. And if they cannot achieve that, then they will try to intimidate you. Then they will try to, in some cases, even hurt you. And I see a narcissist as a black hole, somebody who does not know how to generate their own energy from within, somebody who has to exist on planet Earth as someone who looks to take energy from others. So the worst thing that we can do is put ourselves in a situation where we are trying to prove our point with a narcissist.
So self-acceptance isn't just about accepting the parts of ourselves that are pretty and acceptable. Self-acceptance is about us learning to accept those aspects of ourselves that are flawed, that aren't so pretty, that can be ugly. Now, when I say accept those aspects of us, I don't mean that we condone those aspects of us. I'm saying that what we need to do is learn to accept those aspects of ourselves that aren't so pretty, and those aspects of ourselves that may be tied to the past, may be tied to, I'll use my own terms, unconsciousness, like living below the veil of consciousness, you know, but running from those aspects of self that we're not happy with, it inhibits our ability to be happy, because to be free and to be happy in this lifetime, at least in my humble opinion, means that I have to accept all facets of me.
Just because we're walking and just because we're talking doesn't mean that we're thinking. We can literally drive home from the mall and not know how we got home. When we tie our shoes, that is all part of the default mode network because we've done it. We've patterned it. It's become part of our subconscious programming. We have neural associations that are connected, and we've done this thing over and over and over and over, so we don't have to think about it anymore. When we are thinking, we are doing something we haven't done before. Like if you've never ridden a bike, now you have to think about your balance. But once you start to learn to ride a bike and you've done it over and over, that becomes part of your default mode network. This means, dear ones, that we have to begin observing our emotions with an analytical mindset. We have to begin logically looking and observing at the way we react. That's Alice. She's moaning and groaning. We have to be able to observe our emotions. We have to learn to take the time. If you have been so unfortunate to be impacted by a narcissist, you have grown up walking around on eggshells. You have never felt good enough. You have had your memories screwed with. You have brain fog. You're unable to hold on to anything concrete. This is traumatic. When you're having your psychological self chopped up into tiny little pieces by somebody who has managed to get into your heart space, this is debilitating. The more powerless we feel, the more traumatic this event is to us, the more damaging this event is to us. But I would say to you that try to control what you can. Get as smart as you can and don't tell anybody. If that means that you're eating better, eat better. Just don't tell anybody. If that means you're exercising in your bedroom and you're not telling anybody, exercise. My suggestion is to become as independent as possible without letting anybody know you're on this.
The sign your relationship is really in trouble is when you discover that you are unable to get from point A to point B. So let's say you have something that you want to discuss with your spouse and you present it to him, and you relate to the idea that every time you try to talk to your husband or your spouse about something, you're never able to get from point A to point B. So you're unable to really end up finding a solution to a problem that you have presented. The second sign, if you or your partner wish to be right instead of really looking for a solution that's not attached to an outcome, the relationship is probably in trouble. The third sign that your relationship is in trouble is if you walk around on eggshells around your partner, or if your partner walks around on eggshells around you. This is a big sign that the relationship itself is not healthy, it's toxic, and it's just a matter of time before the relationship begins to really
Very oftentimes, those of us who have felt abandoned and rejected and alone, we end up wanting to be people who bring people together. So if you have suffered from abandonment and exclusion, then you might be someone today that looks to include people. rather than exclude people. So you're all about bringing people together. You're all about helping people feel seen. If you relate to that, if that resonates with you, that you grew up feeling so alone, and today as a result, you struggle with setting boundaries with people, and you're not convinced that it's because it's coming from this place of low self-esteem, where instead it might be a form of codependent, empathetic, or empathy projection, meaning that we don't want to do to someone what we would hate someone
I
to
think
do
all
to
too often people think they're supposed to be paying attention to every cloud or every thought that runs through the mental field. No, dear ones, no. You have to understand that the mental field is sort of like the sky. And the sky's job, if you will, is to hold clouds. Now, the mental field is a field, if you will, that is supposed to be able to hold thought processes. The mental field isn't thinking, no more than the sky is creating the clouds. The mental field holds thoughts, sort of like a cloud is able to be held in the sky, and we can look up at the sky and look at the cloud. You don't have to attach to that thought that's floating by in the mental field.
The first step that I want to offer you is, dear ones, focus on the facts. Was this person addicted to drugs before you met them? Did this person have a criminal record before you met them? Did this person have a habit of stealing, have a habit of lying? Has this person cheated on you? Have you found text messages on their phone that they, try to explain away, but in your heart they're more than what they seem to be? Has this person violated you in some way? Is this person passive aggressive, condescending, cruel to animals? Is this person one way in public and another way behind closed doors? When you start focusing on the facts, what'll happen is your brain doesn't sound such an alarm, because facts are facts. And we're not thinking about leaving right away, we're just thinking about facts. So if you're considering leaving a relationship, or if that begins to show up in your spirit or your heart or your mind, step one is to focus on facts. There are 5 things that I would like you to consider, dear one. And the first one is, be more honest. His flirting doesn't hurt you because he flirts. His flirting hurts you because of what it makes you believe about yourself. It makes you believe that you're unworthy. It makes you feel that you're invisible. It makes you feel like you're unimportant. That's what's really going on. The second thing I want you to do, dear one, is to begin asking for what you really want. So on the surface, we say, I want you to stop flirting. Your flirting hurts me. But below the surface, I feel alone. I'm afraid that I might want to get a divorce. So I think we also have to think about that. If we're in relationships, then we absolutely are called to care about how our actions affect our spouses and our loved ones. That's just part of the agreement. So, dear one, be more honest about what
So the first thing I want you to do, dear ones, is to define what the hell you want. The universe doesn't answer to what you don't want. The universe just answers to what you do want. And the way, in my opinion, the way this whole thing works is whatever's on your mind is what you're going to attract, right? So what you want to do is understand that the universe doesn't work in don't. The universe works in what is, and what is your point of focus. So if your point of focus is, I don't want someone who's rude, then that's what's usually going to show up. Okay, so what you want to do, dear ones, the first thing is define what you want. So what you want to do is you want to journal about what your divine relationship looks like. You have to have a very clear picture. The subconscious mind works like a bullseye. It needs pictures. It needs to understand exactly what it is you want to manifest into your life experience. So take the information of what you don't want and apply it to what you do.
The second thing that you can do to bring balance into your body is to responsibly eat. So eat responsibly, but pay attention to what you're putting into your mouth. So pay attention to empty calories, pay attention to fat. It turns out that fat, can clog these tiny little capillaries in your brain and make it very difficult for the neurons to fire in your brain effectively and to transmit information. For us to maintain harmony in our body, we have to respect that we are a bunch of cells and that we are a physical body. Our spirit exists and needs this physical body. So if we want to begin any type of spiritual healing process, we have to respect and eat responsibly. We have to be responsible to our bodies and eat in a way that assures that we are going to get the most nutrition out of what we're eating. Make sure that you're taking time to reflect. Make sure that you are lighting up the prefrontal lobe and the neocortex, and you are making the best use out of your brain. I wish that there were more people on this planet that thought about the way they think rather than live in a state of reactivity. So think about finding quiet time, a few minutes a day to reflect on the way that you showed up. You know, were you judgmental? Were you critical of yourself and of others? And if so, nudge the judge. Do not judge yourself for it. Just say, I would like to be less of that tomorrow. I would like to be more of this tomorrow. So be willing to reflect on how you show up, and be willing to be more responsible for what is revealed to you about yourself and about the way you are actually showing up in your skin every day. So if you fall off the horse and you have a bad day and you start ruminating and you start listening to these narratives in your head, you know, and you've had a rough day or you've had a rough week, just get back on the horse. Just get back paying attention to what's happening in your mind. Return to supreme self-care. I can tell you that one of the best ways to soothe your being is to offer yourself self-compassion, and to know that it is not your fault that, you know, you are struggling with childhood trauma. It is not your fault if you don't love yourself and know you never felt loved. It's not your fault that it's difficult for you to take a shower every day, or it's difficult for you to remember to eat well. That's not your fault. But you know, it is important for you to understand that no one's going to do those things for you. That accountability is very much what recovery is about.